Welcome to Why Though the Podcast.
We did it!
Baby!
Hello, Destiny Johnson.
Hello, Lizzy Acker. How are you?
I'm pretty good.
I'm glad to hear that.
It's Monday, President's Day.
Yes, and we're working.
Some are working, some are out of school, like
That's
our guest in the audience again, who is this time watching Frozen 2. She is a 4-year-old and will not be listening to this conversation, so don't worry about that.
Correct. And it's Lizzie's daughter, by the way. It's not
my
just like a
daughter.
random 4-year-old.
She doesn't have school because of the presidents, I guess.
Yes. Lots of kids don't have school today, so shout out to the parents. And welcome to Why Though the Podcast.
That's this. We're in Why Though the Podcast right now.
It's happening. Lizzie, if you don't know, writes an amazing advice column for the Oregonian called Why Though. And here at the podcast, we turn the questions that people send into this podcast where we chit-chat about them. And then she writes it more succinctly in a column for your viewing pleasure at OregonLive.com/whythough.
We just have a good time. We just
sure
like
do.
to gab, we talk about things, and that's what we're doing here today.
We sure are.
We're chit-chatting. And actually, this is our last time we're going to be talking. You guys will see us, but we're both going to be gone. I'm going to be gone for a week, and you're going to be gone for a week. We're using our PTO, and a little bit of advice to the people out there. Use your PTO.
Yeah.
You know what?
Please do.
Can't take it with you.
I'm not very good about it, to be honest. But
can't take it with you.
Yeah, but you're going on vacation.
I am going on vacation.
Yes, on into a sunny destination.
Yeah.
I'm going to hang out with my family because my parents are having a wedding reception.
At a sunny destination, I might add.
Yeah, it's in Florida, but is the sunshine worth it in Florida? That's the real question you have to ask. Well, we have some interesting content from viewers today. Listeners.
So sometimes I like to do a reader response column. I love it when people send in their thoughts and feelings on my columns, and I got some interesting ones. I wrote a few weeks ago, you listeners and readers may recall, about it was a question from someone who had received an unwanted text message, a married woman who received an unwanted text message from an acquaintance, married man, that was basically a proposition to have sex.
Yes.
My advice was, you don't have to respond. You can block the person, depending on how often you have to see them. I guess I would ignore, but if it's somebody that is, because it seemed like it was acquaintance level, not like good friend or something like that. I also said, I think you probably shouldn't ask your friends or acquaintances over text if they want to have sex with you.
Maybe turn to Tinder.
Yes.
You had mentioned, yeah.
Not everyone agreed with me, Destiny.
They
some
sure didn't.
Did
got some
not
emails.
agree.
And the responses in some of these responses are wild to me.
And it's interesting to me because we talked. Let give you a little behind the scenes. How we do this usually is Destiny and I'll talk about something, then I write the column, then I send it out to at least 5 or 6 coworkers to read it and tell me, I just want to know, am I totally off base? Is there some huge mistake here?
Sourcing the crowd.
Yeah. Nobody said you're totally off base here.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because I don't think I received a single email that was you're right, Lizzie.
It really, it seemed to have incensed people, to be honest, which concerns me for the people who wrote in texting habits, what they think is appropriate and isn't appropriate to say to other people.
I was honestly a bit shocked, especially. Well, maybe I sent them to Destiny. So why don't you read one of them and we can talk. There's a couple. Well, we can read them all, but we can discuss them one at a time because I feel like the responses are also different. Yeah.
So this one is very short. It's from F, signed F. Block him? ? Why not just be a grown up and answer in a respectful and straightforward manner? This person doesn't listen to the pod because that's essentially what I said. Was I'm not the pro advice giver here, but I have received some unwanted text messages from men.
Right. You're a female person.
I sure am. Yeah. And my advice was to basically just be firm and straightforward about how this person crossed your boundaries, and if they did it again, that there would be consequences.
Yeah.
I am confrontational, so I'm okay with it. I'm not looking for to get in a confrontation, but I'm not afraid of it.
Yeah,
So,
and I think that's totally. I'm not saying
everybody
you
wants to
shouldn't.
swing like that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
but I think you can. I think it's totally fair to just say no, thank you. I think in the question, it did say it was sort of subtext.
Sure.
And so to me, it wasn't like a straightforward, do you want to have sex with me? That is a straightforward question.
Mhm.
Is it appropriate? No, I don't
Correct.
think it is. I think you are allowed to ask questions. Sure, you're allowed to ask for anything you want. However, not every question is always appropriate in every given setting.
And this person seems to be a little annoyed that the proffered advice was to block them.
Yeah.
In your as journalists,
Yeah.
we have to allow unfettered access to us, right? You have to be able to call us and email us because that's like part of our job. In your personal life, you don't have to grant anybody access to you that you don't want to have access to you. So
you don't have to let anyone into your house.
Yeah, it annoys me.
Not even the cops most of the time.
Right. It just annoys me that like people get uppity about blocking. Like, it's my peace of mind. It's not yours.
Yeah. Also, I don't think like you can say no, but it is also not on you. You
Correct.
don't if that stresses you out, which to me, like, I would just rather ignore it because it's fine to say no, but if someone like asking something of you that's totally inappropriate, you don't have to respond. Sometimes you don't respond, and that's totally okay too. People do, people have access to me. Totally. They can email me anything they want, but I do not have to respond to every email.
Absolutely. Right.
I mean, sometimes I try but if someone sends me an email that's just so out of pocket, that's just mean or like inappropriate, I'm not going to take the time to respond to you.
Yeah.
Or a bad faith question, like,
right.
I don't have time for that.
Yeah, and it's on you what you want to engage with, and to blame somebody for blocking somebody or be annoyed with somebody for blocking someone is silly goofy time.
Okay, now read the next one.
Yeah, here's another one. This I'm gonna skip and go to the other short one.
Yeah, the other short one is pretty funny.
So this one is signed from Jay. It says, Lizzy, the guy texting, it might be his wife trying to see if they're having an affair. Might not even be the guy at all. Doesn't matter.
This was a tweet.
That's
to be fair,
wild.
Someone tweeted this at me, and I was like, "Amazing! What?"
I don't know the gender of the person who wrote this in. It's just signed Jay, but I'm just gonna say this. You can email me and be mad at me if you want. The way that men will avoid taking responsibility is so wild to me.
Yeah,
you're literally doing it for another man. You don't even know this man.
Like, why would you assume that?
That's
when
wild.
Somebody texts me from their phone, I have to assume that the person whose name is on the, like,
the amount of mental gymnastics that you have to do to get here when you're receiving a text message that's creeping you out is insane. You don't have to do that.
And you know
don't
what?
have to think of every single possibility. That's insane.
No. And if for some reason it was, I think a 0 response is an absolutely fine response to that.
Yes, because that would be insane.
And
that would be insane.
Yeah, it would be insane. It would be insane. And, if also it was that, I just can't imagine. And the guy saw it, then he could be like, wow, my wife sent that text message. But also, that would be creepy of a guy to do that. Just ignore, move on. These are not good friends. These are acquaintances.
Yeah,
I would like to remind you.
Yes.
This isn't like my best friend for 30 years sent me a text, trying to hook up. That's different. I would have different advice because that's a different scenario.
Yeah. So here's the longer one.
Okay.
If you're
Tuck
ready.
in. Buckle up.
Says, Dear Lizzy, I'm afraid, I don't think you are. I'm afraid I have to disagree with your response to creeped out. Unless I'm missing extra information, like this person is her boss, he asked her to be dishonest, or has been stalking her, this woman should respond with, I don't want to hook up, and move on with her life. We told men they needed to ask for consent. This guy, in a super non-threatening way, I might add, is asking this woman how she feels about hooking up. You told her he was being weird. Going on the info I have, this is what consent culture looks like. You ask people questions and respect their responses. A friend of a friend recently asked me out. Instead of making a huge deal of it, I said I'm monogamous. It's 2024. I don't assume everyone knows the sexual agreement I've made with my husband. I also feel confident in our choices and don't feel freaked out by someone asking me about them. I'd also say It wouldn't kill you to reflect on how your hetero cis privilege is showing in your responses. Some communities are incredibly skilled at navigating similar conversations, but not because it was a choice, because it was a matter of life and death. While monogamy is still very much the norm, it shouldn't be assumed. Thank you. Signed, E. E doesn't listen to the podcast, clearly,
No,
because
this is
I
a
am
reader.
not a straight woman.
Right.
And I thought this advice was very sound.
What? Like, I have questions. First of all, I think saying this is consent culture, it doesn't make sense to me. Like,
As an insult to what consent culture
Right.
should actually and
consent
is actually.
is like, you know, actually asking someone if it's okay to have sex with them or do sexual things with them, you know, like in real time. Like, what is the other way that this would look? I mean, I don't know. Like, what is, if this is consent culture, then
We wouldn't jump from a text message straight to rape.
right.
So
it's
somewhere
that's
in between.
exactly. Okay. I'm yeah, exactly. I'm like, are we saying good on him for not raping you?
Right.
What?
That's
Extreme.
you're allowed to be annoyed by the things that people ask you. You're allowed to say that things are inappropriate. You're allowed to have boundaries like that.
Yeah.
If you want an award for being the best, most accepting monogamous person, you can have it. That's
Sure, that's
yours.
fine.
Sure.
I just
Because
can't,
that's
like,
what this is giving.
in,
And I don't
in what
appreciate
situation?
it.
Like, imagine being in a bar, right? You can be at a bar and a guy comes up to you and starts creepily hitting on you. Sure, it's could be consent. He could be asking for your consent,
Yeah.
but it's still not okay.
No.
Like, there are situations where it's just not like, and you say, I'm not feeling it, leave me alone, and the guy's still like
yeah.
giving
Let's
you
put the stakes lower. Somebody's over at your house for dinner and they ask, "Hey, can I flick boogers on your on your carpet?" And you're like, that's a little
Sorry, am I
gross
being
to
too
me.
Okay, oop.
We
I'm laughing too
disturbed,
loudly
we
for the-
disturbed our audience.
Ooh, yikes.
Okay, and somebody asks you, "Hey, can I flick boogers on your carpet?"
Right.
And you're like, "That's gross." Nobody would turn around and be like, "Wow, you're a bad person for assuming that everyone's hygiene meets yours."
Right. It doesn't make any sense.
That's
to me, it
insane.
makes no sense.
This is an insane response.
Respect and respectfully disagree with this. I also, I am genuinely curious. Which communities are you talking about?
So I think she definitely means she. I'm sorry, I actually don't know. They said
Yeah.
husband, and I don't know the
Yeah,
gender
maybe.
of this
Yeah,
person.
right.
Sorry, speaking of hetero privilege, I
Yeah.
guess. But they say that other communities, and because they mentioned cis straight, I'm assuming they mean
assuming-
queer culture. So
I'm assuming that
that's
too. yeah.
that is true. There seems to be a higher, at least anecdotally,
Uh-huh.
a higher proportion of people who aren't monogamous in the queer community.
Mhm.
And that's totally fine. I and every other sane person, here's some advice for you that I feel is pretty sound.
Yeah.
If you don't know someone's sexual agreement with their partner, you
Yeah.
don't know them well enough to ask for sex.
Right. I would say just assume monogamous unless they tell you otherwise. One moment. We can have hot chocolate in a little bit, okay? I don't have it with me. Sorry, we have a hot chocolate machine in the office.
And her name is Nona.
And her name is. Oh, she's so sweet. Anyway, yeah, I think like I agree. You know, polyamory is everywhere. People talk about it all the time. Still, I would
Ethical
say,
non-monogamy.
yeah, I would
Yeah.
say the safe bet is to assume people in any sort of like relationship that they've told you about as a, you know, married, partnered, whatever, you assume they're monogamous. And unless they tell you otherwise. And you know what? I know lots of polyamorous people. They're not quiet about it.
Yeah, it's sort of the veganism of sexual preferences, which is fine. Love lots of vegans, love lots of ethically non-monogamy
Yeah.
people, non-monogamy people, excuse me. But if you don't know, if you're unaware of someone's situation, and you've never had conversations like these,
Yeah.
you guys aren't to that level. I think
This is a text from someone you don't know
that's
very
what I'm
well.
saying. I think what people are mostly missing here, like some people feel offended that this guy took all the blame. The relationship was not to the point where it was appropriate to ask about sex.
Right.
That is like me, like a coworker of mine just coming up to me and being like, "Hey,
Inappropriate.
do you want to have sex?" That's inappropriate. I
Right.
see you in a certain sphere
Mhm.
of my life, and you'll know if it's the personal one.
Right. Yeah. You shouldn't. This is like, you know, I feel like we've talked about this before, like, sometimes after Me Too, there were certain men who was like, I don't know what to do anymore.
Oh my
I can't.
God.
And it's like, no, like if you're unsure, the answer's no.
Correct.
If you don't know what your relationship is with that person, the answer's no.
Yeah.
And I just think, I don't think that my advice was extreme. I don't think that my advice is putting someone in danger. Basically, what this letter writer was also saying is like, people died because of this. Who? Maybe someone did. Maybe I can see a situation where like people trying to ask other people if they wanted to have sex could be putting themselves in a dangerous position. But I don't think my advice, the person being asked, is not necessarily the one being put in that context. I'm like thinking of back, like if it was illegal for men to have sex with each other or something.
Yeah, so I think that's what this person is getting at.
But
yeah.
the person who is being asked, she's not going to the cops. She's just saying, she's just not saying anything. I'm just saying you can say nothing, and that's fine. She's not contacting his wife.
Correct.
I didn't say contact his wife.
So we also set this situation up where you understand that both of these people are purported to be straight.
Yeah.
Right? This is a cis man approaching a cis woman. They're both married and don't know about each other's arrangements. We already set that up.
Right.
So for you to be a little critical of that tells me maybe you weren't reading so well, and that's okay.
Yeah,
it happens to me literally all the time. But also it would be different if the married man was asking another married, that's a whole different level of not knowing somebody's sexuality. You're right, that can be dangerous. There have been men and women who have had the literal shit beat out of them for stuff like this. That's true. That's not this situation, and to equate it to that is a little bit of a disservice to queer people, I'm gonna be honest.
Okay, I think so. I agree. Yeah. And I also think like this in the year 2024, if you want to have sex with somebody, there are ways.
You'll know. You should know.
And also, like,
you should know.
I know so many people who are like even single people who like they meet other people on Tinder now. I actually met my husband on Tinder.
I love that. I didn't know that actually.
Yeah, and like one thing that's great about Tinder is that you can put your preferences and your goals in a relationship like out there. Yeah. And I'm not saying like you can't meet people in real life, you know, and suss it out too if you're interested.
Absolutely.
But I just think like texting people in general, that texting people, even people that you know very well, with sort of extreme or emotional or anything, like I think texting is really for like, can you pick this up for me at the grocery store? Do you want to meet at this time? I saw this funny meme.
I do view texting differently.
Really?
I'll be honest, because my best friend's long distance.
Okay.
So we spend all day communicating via text, and that's just our
But if you have something really serious to talk about, do you talk about it via text or on the phone? Like
sometimes we FaceTime, but not that often. I will send her like, we're good about communication though, so I'll be like, hey, do you have a second for me to put something on your plate?
Right.
You know, only when she responds in the affirmative will I then say, you know, my dog gave me the side eye. I think he doesn't love me anymore. You know, like whatever it happens to be.
She'll be like, unfortunately, you are correct. No.
But to your eternal credit, that's our relationship.
Right.
You know
and
what I
that
mean?
is your relationship.
And we have set up what we feel to be consent.
And that's your best friend.
It's my best friend. I could literally tell her, like, I've buzzed my head and I'm joining a cult that only eats dirt. And she would be like, great.
Hopefully she'd call you after that.
Yeah, she probably would. But you know what I mean? I could tell her anything and it wouldn't shock her or be upsetting.
But I still think, even if it was your best friend, I don't think you should get in a fight over text.
No.
I don't think you should talk about things that are really important to you over text, because the tone is gone. You know,
very easily misconstrued.
Very,
so true.
Very easy to get feelings hurt
and it's
or wires crossed. And like I have definitely felt that temptation when you're like mad to just be like, oh, I can put it in text, but then you don't have to respond to the emotions or like
That's so true.
see what they are. And I've also just seen it go so badly. I know so many people who get in fights over text with like their partner or their siblings or whatever, and I feel like like I don't know if you've been in the situation where you're watching someone get in a fight with someone over text, like you're next to them physically, and like they're getting very like heated, they feel self-righteous and this indignation, and you imagine that on the other side is another person feeling the exact same thing, and it's like they're never gonna work it out over text.
Yeah, I think a great rule of thumb, I mean, we grew up in the internet age, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like were you ever on Tumblr?
Heck yeah.
Yeah,
I
right.
think I still have a Tumblr
Of course,
account.
yeah. So, that culture of growing up in the internet, I think has probably taught us, if you're not going to say something, if you wouldn't say something to somebody's face,
Yeah.
you certainly shouldn't put it in text.
Yeah, definitely
I
not.
would bet every dollar I've ever seen that this man wouldn't say that to her in public, because how they were just acquaintances. When would he maybe not even have the ability to do that? Because if you're just acquaintances, you're probably not alone.
Right, totally.
So it is, I would say, just from that standpoint, inappropriate.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm coming from. Like, if you know someone, if you aren't sure if you know someone well enough to ask them this over text, you don't. And I'm just not sure there is a situation, except for you have a Tinder bio that says I'm looking for hookups. I'm polyamorous. In that case, fine.
Yeah.
But
in that case,
you don't
pop off.
Yeah, but you don't know. I don't know, and I don't.
She could have been asexual,
right?
For all you know,
it's
for
just
all this person could have known.
It's just not okay.
Yeah.
It's really not okay. And you know what? Even in that situation, like I was saying, like say you're in a bar and some guy starts hitting on you in a really gross way, and it makes you feel really uncomfortable. Like as women, we have all been made to feel uncomfortable by someone coming on to us too strongly. And sure, they didn't assault you that time, but it's still okay to feel uncomfortable and be like, that's not okay behavior. If you are at a bar and you want to have sex with somebody, talk to them. Ask them some goddamn questions,
Yeah, and I hope you get what you want.
Yeah.
Live your life. I don't think that I don't think this has anything to do with like the amount of sexual partners or the frequency of sexual. This has nothing to do with that. It literally just somebody crossed somebody else's boundaries, and that's okay.
That's okay. And she can also say no thank you, but I think it's totally fair to block and ignore too.
Yeah, it's not her like mentor. It's a person she barely knows.
Right.
So thank you for writing in.
Thanks though. You know what? Sorry. We don't usually go so hard on responses, but I've been thinking about this one for a week. So thanks. And if you wrote that response and you want to come back at us, do it.
You can email me, djohnson@oregonian.com
or lacker@oregonian.com, or you know what, both.
There's also a Google form if you want to remain anonymous and ask Lizzy a question or send her some feedback or whatever, and that is in the description below.
Yeah, it'll be the description, and it'll be on the post. It'll be everywhere. Yeah, so you can do that. Love to get your juiciest, most anonymous questions.
You can even yell at us through that, I guess, if you want. Yeah,
do whatever you want. I mean, like we said, we are available, and even if I don't always respond, I heard it. Okay, I'm
the void in which you can scream, if that makes you feel better. Should we move on to Smash or Pass?
Let's do it, Destiny. Okay. Do you have a Smash today?
Yeah, Smash or Pass is a segment, just in case you guys didn't know.
For the new listeners
for the new listeners.
Also, you can watch us on YouTube. You could see Destiny's adorable mushroom sweater. You could see me wearing the shirt that I wear frequently. I did get a haircut, but it's subtle, but I did get it. I'm wearing makeup because I did notice breaking out for like 2 weeks, and so I
just noticed it mostly on your eyes, so I guess it must really match your skin in a good way.
Hopefully, it's not much. I'm not very good at makeup. Anyway, so watch us on YouTube.
You absolutely can.
We're adorable.
The Oregonian's YouTube channel.
Will not see the cute child who's sitting over there, but just know she's very cute.
She's very cute. Smash Pass is a segment where we talk about things that we would like, aka things we would smash, and things we don't like, things that we would pass on. I do have a smash. It's a new book. We talk about books a lot.
I know. I was like, I kind of want a book one, but it's actually a pass. So
okay, great. My smash is a book. It's one of a duology. It's called One Dark Window.
Okay.
By Rachel Gillis, I believe her name is. And I've never read anything by her, but I'm very charmed by this. It is sort of like, it's in the real world, but also in a time long ago, no specific, time period, but there was like, a king, and there's magic, and it's a little dark and weird, but fun. And I'm just breezing through it. One Dark Window.
Cool.
Yeah. I read a lot of books that have like, magic and fantasy and stuff in them. This is very different than a lot of them, which is, I appreciated. So I'm going to read the second one. I'm almost done.
I love that.
Yeah.
I
What's your
want to smash. Do you ever listen to the Ezra Klein podcast?
No, but I saw that you posted about it and you said it was a good episode, and I was like, maybe I should listen, but I was listening to
I
music.
actually generally, sometimes I think Ezra Klein's like a little younger than me, I think, but in between our ages,
Sure.
he's close to my age. And when I sometimes think of Ezra Klein, you know that Lena Dunham girl's quote that's like, she's like, I think I'm the voice of my generation, and then she's like, or a voice of a generation. And so I was like, Ezra Klein is definitely a voice of our generation, or a generation, but ours. He's really smart, and he has a podcast for the New York Times, and just this weekend I listened to 2 episodes. I don't like listen to it every day or whatever. I'm not like that good at listening to podcasts, but he had that episode that I posted. I thought was really interesting because it's basically about like what if Biden were to step down and what could happen, which is an interesting, like in terms of if you're looking to listen to some interesting stuff during this very political time we're in, Ezra Klein. Then the second episode, which I didn't post but I found very interesting, was about friendship and about how important like different kinds of friendship is, and how to like deepen your like relationships and friendships. I thought it was really interesting, and I love to think about friendships. Friendship is very important to me, and the idea that you shouldn't, we live in this society right now where we have this like, oh, you should be married to your soulmate and it should be this perfect relationship and you should get everything from that relationship, is, I think, harmful. And I have in my life found so much joy and importance in my friendships, so I like to listen to that. It's very interesting, and kind of I recommend it.
Yeah, I don't place a lot of weight or feel a large hole for lack of romantic relationship in my life. I would feel that way if I didn't have my friends, I think.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I mean, I think friends are so crucial, and like like it's also just so unfair to expect you can get everything from one person.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I think that as I've gotten older, and realizing that is what has made it possible for me to like be happily married, and and like not be concerned, like not, I don't know, like I feel like just I get so much from my friends and other people I love, and being like, oh yeah, I do love these people, they're very important to me. I went to my one of my best friends, who have been best friends since 4th grade. It's her birthday yesterday, and we had a birthday party for her, and I was like, I just love her, I love my friends. And like that's specifically this person, she's been a crucial element in my life since I was 8.
That's uncommon to have too, like somebody who follows you through every season of your life. Like,
and I mean, there's definitely been like ups and downs,
sure,
and, like, but and
I think
we've
all
lived,
the more strong.
Yeah, and we've lived in different places, though we did like live in San Francisco for a while at the same time, and we've lived here, and we obviously grew up somewhere else, Corvallis. But yeah, she's just been such a good friend to me my whole life, and
I love that.
Yeah. Anyway, friends. Yeah. So do you have a pass?
I do. It's not friends. Love my friends.
Yeah, love the friends.
My pass is carpal tunnel. I as I've mentioned before, I'm a really avid crocheter. I love to crochet. It's like my favorite hobby. So I will sometimes put on a podcast, or I listen to music a lot, or I just put some TV on in the background. 'Cause even though I've been crocheting for a long time, I have to look at it when I crochet. Some people don't. I don't. They're on a different level, and that's fine. But all I want to do right now is crochet. I'm making myself this very cute sweater. It kind of has the same silhouette as this one. And
whatever happened with your other sweater? Did you?
It's the same one.
Okay.
Same silhouette. Yeah. But that one was too small.
Okay.
So I moved on to this larger one.
Okay. Smart.
But I still have about 90% of that one finished. I just haven't done anything with it yet. So yeah, and all I want to do is crochet, but my hands hurt, and you should stop when your hands hurt. Don't continue on, because you should let them rest and recover. Yeah. But I don't like being told what to do by carpal tunnel.
That's a bummer. Well,
it's a little bit of a bummer. Just body stuff. Having a body is
it's hard.
Can't recommend it.
I finished a book this weekend that I've been working on for a little while, and there's parts of it that I really did enjoy. Ultimately, I did not I was disappointed by this book. It was The Fraud by Zadie Smith. It's gotten a
you
lot of...
told me that you were reading this.
It's gotten a lot of... I mean, I feel like it was... You know, Zadie Smith is actually an amazing writer. White Teeth, perfect book. I mean, I haven't read it for a long time. I read it a long time ago, but I really loved it. And she's really like a really good writer. This book is about like a contemporary of Charles Dickens who wrote a bunch of novels and has been like forgotten by history. And
is it historical fiction?
It's historical fiction.
Okay.
But I feel like the problem ultimately with it was that it was both too obsessed with its source material. Like there were so many characters and like I don't know who these people are. I didn't study like literature of the 1800s or whatever. And like there was also not enough in some ways. I ultimately do not know what the book was about.
Ooh,
there were good parts. There were some really interesting parts specifically about, you know, a former slave in Jamaica, because it's in maybe the parts that were less historical, like based in, you know, found material or whatever, were more interesting. She's a great writer, but man, I found that book disappointing.
It's a bummer.
But I did finish it still.
Yeah.
So, if you have a different opinion on The Fraud, please email me at lacker@oregonian.com. And if you have an idea what I'm currently reading Geek Love for my book club, which I have read multiple times and I love, but I suggested it because I'm like, it's kind of a Portland book. It is written by a Portland author, Geek Love.
Know that,
so good.
actually.
Catherine Dunn, R.I.P. She used to work for Willamette Week.
Oh, okay.
Like a long time ago. And I am also reading Pay As You Go. So I'm currently reading 2 books, but I'm going to go on vacation for a week. So I'm going to bring at least 3 books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love that. So if you have any recommendations,
send them my way.
you can email her. It's in the description below.
Yeah.
Both our emails.
Yeah.
And that Google form if you want to stay anonymous and yell at us or
Totally.
give us gossip.
We
or
love
both.
gossip. Yeah. Anything you want. You feel free to disagree with us. I mean, I know that
You
I've
can
been
reveal your deepest
quite
darkest secret.
negative today. Negative about a book, negative about a reader response, but ultimately I consider myself a positive optimist. Once I have this really smart friend I went to college with who I haven't seen in a long time, but he once called me a optimistic nihilist.
Ooh.
And I was like, yeah, that really feels right.
It's a nice one.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's all we have for
Yeah.
you today. Lizzy will be going away on vacation, so wish her well.
And then Destiny will be going away on a kind of vacation.
Yeah, sure. Well, I'll be hanging
You won't
out.
be working. Will you be working? No, you won't be working. That's
For the
whole
first few days I'm there, I won't be working, and
Okay.
then I will be working, but it doesn't
Okay.
really matter.
And then, so there will be podcasts. Though.
There will
don't
be.
worry.
Yeah, don't worry.
And
We're here for you.
we'll be back IRL in person in a couple weeks, March.
Bye.
Bye.
Listening to Why Though the Podcast. Subscribe for weekly episodes wherever you listen to podcasts, and don't forget to leave us a 5-star review. If you're looking for more Why Though, check out my column that comes out every Tuesday on OregonLive.com. You can support our local journalism by going to OregonLive.com/podsupport.